Hi there, I'm Krista Gorman. This is Loverly Weddings and Lifestyle YouTube channel, Loverly TV. I am here today with Paje Honor from Honor Beauty. You might remember her from a video we posted earlier. She owns a hair and makeup beauty company called Honor Beauty, but they offer so much more and she offers so much more of herself. And one of the things we talked about was how she's involved with human design. And it's such a cool thing. I'm super excited about it. She did a reading for me, and we're going to go through it today live for you guys so that you can actually get a glimpse at a little bit more about me and who I am as an entrepreneur, as a photographer, as a person, and really understand who I am. But also so that maybe you're inspired to contact her and get a reading for yourself, because I think that this is such an important tool that everyone should do and find out about themselves, because it just opened so many doors for me that were locked, and like about myself, and not knowing certain things about me and how I should live and how I can thrive in this world. So hi Paige, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. I'm super excited.
I know it's Casual Friday, so we're both in our cozy hoodies.
Yes.
So Paige, let's talk about let's talk about you first. Why don't you tell us about the business, about human design? How did you come to find out about it, get involved with it, get excited about it, and what are you offering now?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I've been in my human design experiment, as it's called, for about 2.5 years now. So a lot of people have like this significant moment that they remember when they were introduced to it. But I actually don't even remember. I think I was just online, maybe looking at astrology or numerology, something like that, which is also, they're also things that I'm very passionate about. And I stumbled across just like a website or like a blog about human design. So there was a site that I came across, and you enter your information and then it pops out this chart, and it is completely alien at first when you first look at it, and it makes absolutely no sense. But the deeper I dug into my human design, my type, it made me realize that, oh my gosh, this is the answer to so many questions and so many ponderings that I have about who I am as a person, my purpose, what gives me fulfillment and satisfaction as an individual. So basically, what it is like a blueprint or like an instruction manual for your unique design. So there are 4 different types in human design. We'll go over all of those a little bit later on too. Um, but it opens your eyes to how different we all are, but at the same time we're all a part of this unique design of being humans. So we have different characteristics, different strengths, different weaknesses. We act differently, we make decisions based on different parts of our body. We think differently, and human design just it lays everything out, and it kind of covers your conscious side, so things that you know about yourself, but also the unconscious part of yourself. So it brings those two together, and then it creates your human design chart.
It's amazing. Yeah, so I want to talk about, so yesterday we were actually going to make this video yesterday, and so when Paige originally told me what my human design was, I was just like lit up on fire, like exploding with excitement and joy, and like I finally felt seen and heard. And I feel like that's a common thing for people when they get their reading done. They have that kind of moment where they feel seen and heard. But what happened was, later on in the day, I went and read the report, and there was a little mistake, a typo. So when Paige put in my birth year, she was off by a year. So it changed everything for me. And it really affected me more than I thought it would. I was having a really hard time letting go of, okay, so originally she said, for those who do know what this is, I was a manifesting generator, is what she called upon me to be. And I'm not a manifesting generator. So I am actually an emotional generator. So both in the generator family, which is really cool. But there was so many things that changed that I had a hard time letting go of, because I felt so inherently connected to those things, like as a part of my identity. So it's just like, how is this not me? Like, and so I'd messaged, and we were messaging back and forth, and Paige was so amazing this morning, giving me that feedback and just talking me through it. And that's a part of me too, which I'm really curious if that's kind of present in the chart, but that when I get emotionally upset, one of my processes is I need to talk about it. I need to talk all circles around it to let go of it.
Yeah,
And
and that totally makes sense. And then so I want to go back. I'm going to kind
yeah,
of name the different human design types right now so that it'll make sense to people who are completely unaware of human design. So in human design, there are 4 different types. The first one being the manifester. So that's when you explain what they all are, everybody wants to be a manifester. I think right now the word manifest is huge in our culture, online, social media, spiritually or not. We all want to manifest this amazing life, and we want to create it, and we want to bring that magic in and be able to like be in control of everything that we create. So being a manifester sounds amazing. So then there's the generator family. So generators and manifesting generators are both the same type. There are certain differences between them, but a manifesting generator is a generator. So I think when it came to you finding out that first you are a manifesting generator, awesome, I can also manifest and be the doer and the worker bee. Then to find out that actually, no, you're a generator who has to make decisions based on your emotions. That can definitely be a hard pill to swallow because everybody wants to have that manifesting capability. So when it comes to just living your life, everybody can manifest. We all have that power. I'm not a manifester or a manifesting generator. I'm actually a projector, which is the next human design type. I can still manifest things. I just have to go about it in a different way and make decisions differently based on the other energy types. And then the last one is a reflector. So reflectors are very rare. It's only 1% of the population, roughly. One of my best friends is actually a reflector. So I've been doing a lot of work with her. And I'm hoping to do a little video with her to explain what the reflector is and their role in the community. And if you think that, maybe your type has it tough or a projector has it tough, reflectors have to wait a full lunar cycle before making a decision. That's wild. So, if you think that it's difficult to have to wait out your emotional wave to find that clarity before moving forward into a project or a relationship, at least it's not a full 28 days.
yeah.
So those are the 4 types. And then manifesting generator is within the generator type. So I just wanted to kind of set that out. And yeah, so when I put in the birth year wrong, it brought me back to this story that I saw on social media last year. There was a very successful human design specialist, and she had modeled her whole business around her specific design type. And then later on, a year into her her business venture, she found her original birth information, and her timing was off, and it changed everything about her design. Therefore, it required her to go back and like replan her whole business model around this. So I was like, that is my worst nightmare. And then here I am finding out that I entered a wrong birth year, and I was like, no. But it worked out. And I think that even though you resonate with the manifesting generator, you still have a lot of those centers defined. So you can still rely on that part of you. But I think the emotional part of this is going to make a lot more sense to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's dive.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
Yeah.
maybe right now you can show the actual chart as I talk. So when I do a reading, perfect. So when I do a human design reading, it is approximately 6 to 9 pages, depending on how much definition you have in your chart. Sometimes there's more information. So we'll stop right here. This is the actual foundation chart. So there is a lot of information on the left that I don't touch on with a foundation reading because that is more in depth, and that's a whole other reading on its own. So what I present in a foundation or like a basic reading for you is all of the key components that you need to start with.
Yeah.
I would recommend that you live in your design and you experiment with your human design type for at least 1 year before moving forward and having another reading done with the more in-depth parts of human design. So some areas that we did not touch on that we will maybe in the future, if you're interested, is what motivates you.
Yeah.
So you're motivated by hope, which there's a lot more to that I would go into. what senses you can rely on, the best things to eat, the best location to live, whether it's in the mountains or in like a city setting, etc. So these things will come into play the more you live in your actual design. So that's
So
why I don't.
because this is where all my questions were was
Yeah,
about the side
that's
of
okay.
it.
And you can ask them, and I'll try. Like I'll answer them a little bit, but I don't want to give you like a full reading on something if you haven't even lived by your strategy and authority
So
yet
it's
for a
like
full year.
environment caves. Does that mean I have to move to a cave?
No, but what that does mean is in your either like your home life, your office life, you like to have a nice, comforting, safe place.
Yeah.
Being in an office or a building or a home that has one entrance, so you know who's coming and going, that makes you feel safe, if
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah, that's all I really want to get into with caves. It doesn't mean living in a cave, but like nice dim lights, like mood lighting, one entrance in and out, so you feel safe and you know who's coming and going and how they're getting there. um the dim lighting is another one, something that feels comfortable and safe to you also.
100% I can resonate with that. And
Okay,
it's funny,
cool.
actually, when I look, because she did Chris's reading as well. We'll touch a little bit into that, but his is the same. His environment is the
Oh,
same
that's
as mine.
amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. That
So,
is so
oh, we're
cool.
both meant to live in caves.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, so then you're motivated by hope, so it's like kind of what fuels you is just having hope. But then when you're living in your not self, which we'll also get to a little bit later, when you are not living by your design is pretty much what that means. Your motivation is transferred to like guilt. So that's something that we can touch on a little bit later on if you're willing to go into it, because there's so much more information. This, what I presented to you in this PDF, is just like the tip of the iceberg, but it's the key components that will help you understand human design.
Yeah, no, I want down this rabbit hole. I love it. I think it's amazing.
Awesome. Okay, so now if you want to keep scrolling,
Okay.
I don't think there's really a need for you to like show me, because I'm going to be reading and then kind of bouncing back and giving more insight on it. So if you're okay with keeping it open like this, that's cool. Okay, so as we said earlier, your type is in the generator family. So you are a generator with emotional authority. So emotional authority lives in the solar plexus. So if you want to scroll up really quick, back to your design chart, the solar plexus is that brown triangle on the right side. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that is the magic spot that holds your emotions, and it is going to be in charge of the way you make decisions in life. So when it comes down to making decisions, it's not just like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? Like, where are we going to go for dinner tonight? It's not that type of decision making. It's the big decisions. So when it comes to life partner, marriage, children, where you're going to live, like what city or country, job changes, the way that you manage money, that kind of thing, like the big life choices, you should definitely rely on your emotional wave to make those choices and not make quick snap decisions when you're feeling emotionally high or emotionally low. Okay, does that make sense?
So it does, but I have questions.
Yes. Okay, let's go.
So when I'm in an emotional state,
Yes.
I'm not supposed to make a decision though, right? So
Yes.
how do I use my emotions to make my decision
So
if I have to make it
this
in
is
neutral?
this is where the magic happens. Okay, so if you want to give me like a, for instance, like a scenario that would make you feel like really emotionally high or emotionally low, if there's anything even in your life that you can think of, if not, I can give you an example. That's fine.
Um, oh, yeah, okay. No, I don't know. Well, okay, so I was like um emotionally distraught about being an emotional
Okay, that's
manif-
perfect.
or emotional generator and wasn't even sure I wanted to do this video today because I was so bummed out about it.
This is perfect. This is the
Okay.
perfect scenario. Okay, so let's go with that. So you found out you were a manifesting generator, and it was like you were on a high, you resonated with everything that I had to say. You had the money line in your chart, which means that money just flows to you and like all is well. Like who wouldn't want the money line in their chart? Who wouldn't want the word manifester in their as a descriptor for, their personality? Obviously everybody would.
Yeah.
So then when you found out later by my mistake that you are actually a generator who makes decisions based on your emotions. Yeah, you felt it, and that's just proof that you really are in tune with your emotions, and you let your emotions guide you in how you feel. You were feeling an emotional, I want to say high, but not like in a good way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you were feeling energetically
Heightened.
charged and just, anger, frustration, sadness, all the things. Like it was just turmoil, right?
Yeah, like it even bubbled up. Like I started getting teary when I would talk about it because I was feeling all that emotion. And I found myself in the experience trying to like curb the emotion and
Mhm.
try to think rationally and like be open to the fact that I'm not this manifesting generator and that it would be okay, and I kept trying to like self-talk myself into out of being so upset about it. Cause I was like, why are you getting so upset about this?
And this is the thing. This is why actually this example is so perfect for this situation, because in that moment, you should, as an emotional generator, you should never talk yourself out of feeling those things. You have to feel them. There's no other way around it. And it takes time. You can't go from feeling overwhelmed with this change in, your design type, to talking yourself out of it and then being like, okay, I'm fine. That's not how you function with anything in life for the most part. And correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you're not living that way. I don't know.
I
um
no, I that's how I live my life though. Like
yes,
I
yes.
talk myself through everything and like I justify things a lot. Like I really have to like I really work around. Chris
Yeah.
calls me like this ultimate salesperson, right? Because if I want something, like I can sell it to him all the ways.
And that's the thing. So you also have, if you look up at that little green area, you have a defined anja center. So like your head and your throat are connected. So you are constantly, when things don't go your way, or if you're trying to rationalize or think about things or make decisions, we have been conditioned as people to make choices based on our thoughts and based on logic. You need to, it's so hard, and this is part of the unlearning process. That's not how you go about making decisions. When you make a decision for you specifically, your emotions are what guide you. And it's not the emotion of feeling happy, sad, angry, mad. It's living through that whole wave and then coming to a point of stillness and clarity. That's the small space that you make a decision.
So what do I do with my thoughts in that time? Because usually like my head
Let
spins.
them come. Let them come, let them go, but don't base your final choice on your thoughts. If it's
Right.
coming from your head, you will never get a final 100% answer from your headspace. It's going to weigh the pros and the cons. It's going to tell you what's good about something, what's bad about something, what you should have done, what would have been better, etc. But it's never going to give you an answer. So you can definitely let those thoughts come. Don't push them away. Don't ignore them. It's a part of your design to speak your mind and to say what you're thinking. That's totally natural for you, and you shouldn't push that away.
Mhm.
But when it comes to making decisions, so for example, if you would have listened to those thoughts and made a choice when you were feeling that emotional turbulence, you would have canceled this video chat with me. And it would have been like, no, I can't do this. Like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
But you sat with those emotions. We talked it out. I was there to answer any concerns or questions. And here we are doing the video and getting through it. So this is like a really valuable lesson for people to learn. And then I also mentioned to you before we started shooting that like a lot of times when people find out what their design is, it's not what they wanted. For the most part, it's not what they wanted. So when I found out I was a projector, and projectors have to wait. They can't initiate, they can't invite, they can't do, they're not supposed, they can if they want to. I mean, I do it sometimes too. Um, but the best way for me to be recognized for my talents is to be invited in by someone else. So when I allow myself to just let go of that control and just allow other people to recognize me and invite me in, everything, it just unfolds like magic. And it took 2.5 years of practicing this, and I still fall back on it. So it's not something you're going to learn overnight. It's a process, and you just have to trust it. And it can be hard when you have that definition in the headspace, because you're so used to doing things a certain way, and you do, make decisions based on your thoughts a lot of the time. So I hope that makes a little sense and gives some clarification on like when to make decisions. It's not
Yeah.
when you're feeling something, it's allowing yourself to go through that entire emotional wave. And then when you come to that quiet time when it's just clarity and balance.
Yeah.
And it might be a very small moment. Like it might not last a long time. But when you come down off of that emotional wave, that's when you make your choices.
Well, and that's like what I was telling you. I mean, and I do that. I have done that in the past for a lot of the big decisions in my life.
Mhm.
And a prime example of that is leaving my government day job and
Yes.
going all in on my photography business. And because I knew like I never felt like I belonged with the government. I did really well there. I excelled there, but like I never felt like I fit in
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And but I always had my photography, so like it kind of kept me happy because I still had my passion outlet,
Hmm.
to be able to still do this other job, this worker bee job, like we say.
Yeah.
And um the reason why what happened was my grandmother had passed away on my birthday, and her and I were really close.
Hmm.
And it just like I don't have a lot of experience with death in my life either, so like it impacted me like extremely hard.
Yeah.
um and it sent me into this like immediate response of like I can't go to work, like I can't go back to work, like I had like an identity crisis. And so I took a sick leave, and I got written off because like depression hit hard and anxiety hit hard, and I just like I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. And but instead of, I could have just said that day, like, I'm going to quit my job. I can't go back there. I'm done. Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
In an emotional turmoil, I easily could have just said that. But I went through this process of, you know what? No, I'm going to take the time to like heal my body, heal my mind, heal my heart, and figure out what it is that I really am called to do in this life, and where I belong, and what I need to be. And so, and that's, I took 6 months to do that,
Amazing.
to clear myself out of that emotional turmoil, that emotional trauma, and build myself back up again to be in a position where I could make a clear and conscious decision, because that was a big decision. I invested
Yeah.
a lot of time, I had a pension, like I had a career there, and to give it up to go in a very unstable, like, unpredictable career, I had to really put a lot of faith in myself and who I am, and like trust in that I could do this. And that served me because it went really well, and it was like the best decision I ever made. Like I have zero regrets, no matter what gets thrown at me, COVID, whatever, like it's all good. Like I love my life, right?
Yeah, and that is like a perfect example. And first, like, thank you for sharing that part of you and that, that story with everybody, so that they can see like it's difficult, and sometimes out of very difficult situations. And I suffer from depression, and I lost my grandmother, and she was also like my best buddy. So I empathize with you, in that side of things. But just I always think to myself, and like I'm sure you do the same, like your grandma is probably like so friggin' proud of you, and like that's my girl. Look at her go. Like her soul is being fulfilled because she is following her passion, and she's listening and responding to the world, which is what you're meant to do. And it's, they're always with us no matter what, whether you believe in that or not. So yeah, like taking something and letting yourself, grieve and go through those emotions, and taking a full 6 months, and then coming out of it and just having that moment of clarity where you're like, no, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I believe in myself. And you have a defined heart center, which means that you have that willpower, and you have that built-in desire, that once your mind is set on something and your heart is set on something, you go for it and you make it work, and you will be a success at that. So that is following your design 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I guess if you want to move on from there, so we kind of covered the whole generator and what that means to be a generator. Um, so I'll touch a little bit on the not self behavior, which we all have. And that comes from acting outside of your design based on the way that you were raised. So, for example, let's say you're a projector and you were raised by two generator parents. You're going to be taught to, go to school, get a 9 to 5, get a family, get a home, have a kid, do all those things. Where for projectors, that's not always how we want to work. We're not meant to work like a long, 40-hour work week. So the not self behavior comes from outside sources, and conditioning. So when you're not living, for you specifically, and for other generators, when you're not living in your design, and when you're behaving like another type, for example, you will recognize this by feeling frustrated. So when you're acting outside of yourself, you're going to feel frustration. So I'm sure there have been moments in your life that you can look back where you have felt like this severe frustration with yourself, with the situation, with others.
Yep.
That is a telltale sign that in that moment you were not acting as an emotional generator. So whenever you feel like, now that you have this information and knowledge, whenever you feel that frustration creeping in, it's kind of like a gentle nudge and a reminder like, hey, Krista, you're not being an emotional generator right now. Take a step back, reassess the situation, and then maybe approach it a different way. And then you'll find that the frustration will go away. And it won't happen all the time. Like the thing with human design is these are just, it's not rules, it's not something you have to live by, otherwise your world will be in shambles. It's just a way that will help you move through life with more ease and like the least amount of resistance is what I like to say to people. So that's the not self behavior.
So
And then
can I
yeah,
ask
go
a
ahead.
question? So when I'm like making a decision and making
Yeah,
a choice, and I'm supposed to go by my sacral feeling, right? Like,
your
and
solar plexus.
right. Okay. So can you dive into that and explain a little bit more? Because I
Yeah.
know that, like, I know when I get that spark feeling,
Hmm.
like I live to get that's like crack for me. Like I live to get that like lit up spark feeling.
Yeah.
I that's like what I strive for every day to get. And so am I supposed to, is that my compass? Like, am I like, oh, I got a spark. Okay, I'm going with that. Like
So not
I don't get a
necessarily.
spark.
So everybody gets inspired and gets sparks in different ways, and it makes them feel, certain ways, and it drives them to act on things. um, so your compass, I've never really thought of calling it that, but so your authority, which is your solar plexus, that's your emotional center, use that as your compass. So when you can feel a spark or a ping or like the sacral response, because you have sacral definition, you have that area in your body that gives you that yes or no gut feeling. So
Mhm.
you can rely on that too. But after you get that gut response, then it's time to listen to your emotions and ride out that wave, whether it's just a big or like if it's a small, very minute wave, still listen to your emotion. And then if you still feel a yes, then go for it. Jump on it. Pursue whatever it is that you want to pursue. So you can still rely on that inner gut feeling from the sacral center, but as far as using it to make decisions, you should rely more on your solar plexus, which is your emotions.
Okay.
Okay?
So for instance, I've wanted to do a podcast for a really long time. It's
Yep.
something that's like really, it keeps popping up for me.
Yep.
But yeah, I had no idea like what was my special podcast going to be about, right? So I really struggled for that. So I was sort of waiting for that to come to me. When I found out that I was a manifesting generator, or thought I was, um, and I was on that high, though I was in that emotional high, an idea of came to me of what that podcast should be, which then made me feel that much more validated in doing the podcast. So, like,
Mhm.
do I ignore that because I was in an emotional high and need to sit on it still? Or,
Yeah, I mean, if you're basing your decision off of the label manifesting generator, maybe don't hop on right now and create a podcast. But if you're telling me before you even knew what human design was, this idea of you having a podcast kept resurfacing in your life and presenting itself to you. So it had nothing to do with human design. It had nothing to do with you thinking you were a manifesting generator. You've always had those inner pings and those feelings, and
Mhm.
you've had enough time over the span of the couple years that you've been feeling that to really sit with those emotions and how it makes you feel. So there's even a part in your human design where it's like, yes, as soon as I did that part of your chart and I was like, oh my gosh, she needs to do this podcast, because we'll get to it,
Yeah,
and I'm sure you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when we get there.
yeah.
um, but yeah, go for the podcast. You have a gift to tell stories, and this TV channel is proof of that right now. So I personally think if you're waiting for the world to kind of invite you so that you can respond, I'm doing it right now. I am inviting you to respond to this, and I really think you should create a podcast.
Perfect.
See, there you go. I can only do that as a projector because you've invited me in and you trust, what I have to say. So
Yeah, perfect. I'm
yeah, there
good.
you go. we'll move on to sleep. So sleep is a very small thing. I didn't really used to include it in a reading, but I think it's important because different design types require, different methods of going to bed and getting rest. So when it comes to sleep, you won't find true rest until you have finished generating and burning off the energy of the day. So, because you have that defined sacral center, and all generator types have a defined sacral, that's what makes you a generator. You have this endless supply of inner energy, and you need to get that out. So, whether it's by exercise or by, doing work on the computer, your photography work, planning things, organizing, whatever it is to get that energy out of your body, then you can fall into bed exhausted and get an amazing night's sleep. So, for example, I'll just give you some contrast with your husband and myself and my partner. We're all projectors, and what that means for us is that we should actually go to bed or at least lay down and relax our body an hour before we plan on sleeping. Okay, so that's kind of like a little bit of contrast just to give you an idea. You're not meant to go to bed and just lay there and do nothing for an hour before sleep. You got to go, go, go and exert that energy in whatever way you see fit before actually hitting the pillow and going to sleep.
Really, eh? Because I feel like I need like a little bit of time to unwind before I
Yes. Yeah, and like unwinding is fine.
Okay.
So you don't have to physically do anything like jumping jacks or working
Like
out
I
before
like
bed. But
watching TV and like
yeah, and that's
yeah.
fine. Yeah, as long as you give yourself time to decompress and you know that inner energy and that wheel is not turning anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because sometimes like sometimes TV will keep me up too late and
Yeah,
then I can't fall back asleep because now I'm like getting a second wind.
yeah.
Same with like work. Like if I'm not in bed by 10:30,
Mhm.
forget it. Like I'm gonna be up till 2, 3 in the morning. Like I have to try to like, and I try to do that, like incorporate some sort of timeline where it's like, okay, I set an alarm on my phone. It reminds me, okay, bedtime's coming up. Start running it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's a good way to be. And it's good to have those, when it comes to sleep. For me, I'm a night owl, but that's besides the point. Like it doesn't matter what time you go to bed or anything like that. As long as you know within your own body that the energy and that buzzing feeling is out of you, then you can go to bed and get a great night's sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'll go over briefly your like the signature goal in your life is satisfaction. So when you feel satisfied in any part of your life, that is like the best feeling for you as a generator. Um, so like when you're living in your mind and you're always like in your thoughts, you won't be able to ever figure out what specifically brings you that satisfaction. But it's when you listen to your emotional authority and follow your strategy and authority, that's when you will find that satisfaction will just present itself to you in different forms.
Hmm.
Okay. So thinking of like, oh, what can I do to bring me satisfaction? Instead of thinking of it and trying to create it on your own, just trust your strategy and authority, and then you will be satisfied in anything that you pursue.
Okay.
Okay. So the next one is kind of like a big part of human design. Usually, after you find out what your type is, you'll go into your profile. Okay. So your profile type, there are 12 different human design profile types. So you'll see on your chart, you'll see one side is red and then the other side is black. If you want to go up, yeah. So I'll read this word for word just so other people can understand. So the mind, which is the black part of your chart, this is who you are on a conscious level,
Yeah.
who you know yourself to be. So traits, skills, all these things that you already know about yourself. And then the body side, which is in red, that's your subconscious side. So it happens kind of like before you're born. So just things that are within you, within your design that you didn't have to discover, they're already there within you. And a lot of times other people see that before you even recognize it in yourself.
Okay.
Okay. So with your profile, you are the 4-6, which is the opportunist role model.
Okay.
Okay. So the opportunist role model, I don't want to read the whole thing, but the 4-6 profile, you live your life in 3 different stages. Okay. So I don't know if when you look back at your life, does this make sense to you? I know you had some time to read over a little bit.
No, this stuff like the authority stuff like that all confuses me.
Okay. So I'll read this, and then we can we'll pause at certain points, and then you can let me know if this resonates with you or if you need a little bit more clarification. Okay. So your profile is the beginning of establishing a style for your life. So a role described as the costume of your purpose. So the costume that you wear going through life. Okay. So it's a costume that you grow into. And it can be uncomfortable if you're not living as your true design. Um, or it can just feel like natural skin. You can read this and be like, yeah, this is how I live my life. This is exactly me. So depending on whether or not you are living your design already will have an effect on this. So, okay, I just want to find exactly where I can start. Okay.
What does it mean by
So,
costume? Like, I'm not
so
sure.
like kind of like the mask you wear to navigate through life. Does
Okay.
that make sense? Yeah.
So it's
So
saying
the more,
that, like, I'm putting on a face, or
kind of it's like the role that you play in life. So you don't really get to choose it. It's This is kind of just chosen for you based on your conscious and subconscious characteristics.
okay.
Okay. So your profile type is the 4-6, the opportunist role model. You have the potential to be a true role model wherever you go. You can influence people around you, um, and you are a clear representative to other people as far as what it means to live a 9-centered life. So we are 9-centered beings, and that goes back to the human design with the 9 different centers. Okay, so we are 9-centered beings, and you are meant to show other people how to truly live an authentic life based on your unique design.
Oh,
So at the unconscious level, you live your life in 3 distinct stages. So the first 30 years of your life, it can be challenging at times, because you like to bump into things, you learn in a very subjective way, you make mistakes, you learn from them. So I don't know if that's how you live the first
yep.
30 years of your life, but that's pretty much how it goes for the 4-6 profile type. So during this time, there's an internal discomfort because the conscious part of your profile wants stability and a solid foundation, while the unconscious side of your profile must go through the trial and error process. Okay, so
So,
still, you agree with this?
well, that's why I got a government job. Because I
Exactly.
need
Yes. Yes.
stability. Part of me was like, and I've always said I'm like this corporate creative hybrid of, I'm A-type personality, but I'm also very like creative and messy and wild, right? Like, and spontaneous.
That's like the best of both worlds.
And that's what this is saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it's saying. So now, when you arrive at the second stage, which begins from 30 onwards, which is where you are right now, the opportunist role model enjoys a welcome reprieve. So this is the time that you are going to take the subjective experiences and turn them into wisdom. So you took the first 30 years of your life to learn what works, what doesn't, what brings you joy, what doesn't, the mistakes that have shaped you. So now you can turn those experiences into wisdom, which is exactly where you are right now. I can already tell you,
Yeah.
based on our conversations. And this is another reason why I think that you are ready to start this podcast, because you have all of these experiences, and you're living your life based on what has worked for you. So now you can spread that wisdom to other people who maybe feel the same way that you do. Maybe there are people right now who are before the age of 30 who are living that life, that government job, and their soul is like lacking that sense of purpose.
Yeah.
So I think that you do have a gift to give people through explaining your own life experiences. So that's where the wisdom comes in.
Because I want to create a course as well.
Yeah, which would be amazing. I think that you would be great at that. So
Amazing.
I'll continue reading because there's like a lot
Yep.
of information. So with a bird's eye view, you can see things from a different perspective than you did before. So you're able to establish stability.
I
So
always say I have like this crazy ability to like see the bigger picture and like how to get
yeah.
from A to B like super easy and fast and more efficiently. Oh my God.
So bird's eye view, that's like, and that's where this is still where you are right now, between the ages of 30 and roughly 50, like give or take. It's not exact.
Okay.
Um, Yep. So you see things from a different perspective than you did once before. You're able to establish stability by engaging yourself in family, career, and a trusted network of friends. So take this time up until you hit, age 50, give or take, and create those networks. Find people who resonate with your energy, who you vibe with. So we came into contact with each other just within the last, even couple months, really talking.
Yeah.
So find more people that are fueling that fire, and we can bounce energy and ideas off of each other to help you grow even more. Because once you get to the age of 50, this is really when you step into that role model um, part of your life. So you have all this wisdom, all this experience, you've helped guide other people along their path. So, on a personal level, there's a natural internal tension between your conscious that is yearning for connection and quality relationships, and then your unconscious desire to stand apart so that you can continue evaluating and judging what life is really all about.
Hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know if that will resonate with you right now because you're not there yet, but
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to know that you are on that journey, and that this part of your life right now for the next, 20 years is crucial in becoming, the ultimate, who you are, that role model.
Wow.
Okay, so another thing, just with the title of opportunist role model, you look for opportunities, opportunities find you very easily. So I don't know if that is true or not. Yeah,
Yes.
awesome. And then you will maybe also have like the tendency, people might be drawn to you for advice. They might come to you and, lay out this whole scenario and trust that whatever you have to give in return will be valued advice and wisdom that they can learn from. So, in a nutshell, that's what the opportunist role model is.
Wow.
Cool, eh?
That's really cool. Actually, I really love all of that and
Yeah.
really, really, really resonate with that. It was hard for me to read yesterday. And I think too, like I was pushing myself to read it last night, but I was still like mourning the fact that I wasn't a mani gen.
You weren't finished riding that wave yet.
No. And I was trying to read it. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't even want to read this right now.
I don't want to read about who I really am.
I don't want to know that. I want to be a mani gen.
No. So, and it's funny because in the first mistake reading that I did with you, you were the martyr, which is not you. So even when I was doing it, I was like, I don't know. I don't know her well enough to know if this is going to be, something that she resonates with.
Yeah.
But the 4-6 is so much more you than the previous one that I did for you. So there you go.
That is super cool.
Yeah. So then once we go down a little bit further, so strategy, the strategy for a generator is to wait to respond to life instead of forcing life to happen in the way that you might want it to. So this is where the frustration and the problems and like the I don't want this, I don't want this part of the design. That's what usually it's within the strategy, because nobody wants to wait
Yeah.
to respond to things. They want to just do it on their own. But when it comes down to it, the pure manifester, those are the only ones that can have a thought. And I like to give the example of like when the pyramids were being built and the pharaoh. So the pharaoh was the manifester. He had this idea, I want to make pyramids. He didn't make the pyramids. The generators were the ones who did all the work and made it actually happen. So the generators are the builders. The projectors are the ones who kind of sit back and say they have the blueprints and the plans, and they teach the generators, okay, this is the best way that you can make this happen. This is the best way that we can make these pyramids an actual thing. So we're not doing the work, we're guiding the generators, the doers, the creators, how to best utilize their energy. And then the reflectors, they're just sitting back and making sure that the community feels happy and healthy and make sure that everybody is thriving. So each person has their own role in life. And that's just a really good example to give people to paint a better picture.
Yeah.
So when you try and force things to happen, and when you initiate things or when you put something out there, more often than not, it's not going to be received, or you're not going to get the recognition that you feel you deserve. So can you resonate with this, with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'd actually like had this idea. Like I asked a question to a group of female photographers, just an industry question. I kind of created like an Instagram community or group message. And everyone, we were all chatting back and forth. And I'm like, wow, wouldn't this be cool if we had like an actual like Facebook group and we called it Women in Photography, and, everybody joined it. So I asked them, like, do you guys want to do this? And some of them were like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Like, I would love to get that kind of mentorship from my peers. And so I put all this work and time and effort into it, but then like nobody, like everyone joined it, but like no one's like really engaging in it or actually doing anything in it. And I'm just like, well, I just wasted a bunch of time creating this. I'm not putting any more work into it. So that's done, and I got really frustrated about that. And I even messaged everyone, I was like, so is nobody going to comment or message or respond to anything I'm putting out there? And then I probably like annoyed some people and then just isolated them even more to they're like, well, we don't want to be in your group because you're mean.
That's a perfect example. And if a manifester were to create, and that's where the frustration comes in, because we all want to be able to create things and we all want people to love everything that we do. But when we're not living in alignment with like our design and the way that we go about making decisions, we're not going to be received. So I think we were talking about the other day, like people recognize and get a feeling from your vibe and your aura before you even talk to them.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I have zero poker face. Like you can read me like a book. Like Chris knows when I'm mad, happy, sad. Like he walked in the room last night. I was whitening my teeth after I found out all this stuff. And he was like, why does it feel bump? Like, and I couldn't make any expression because I had a teeth whitener in my mouth. And he's like, what's going on? I feel bumminess in this room.
See, he's such a projector, because I felt that energy from my house. I felt you. I knew it. And what did I say this morning when we were talking? I'm like, I knew you were going to react this way. I knew that this was coming.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for the invitation to fix it, my little mistake that I made. But I mean, it's all working out for the better, because it's giving us a chance to go through things and explain why sometimes we feel that frustration when we don't hear what we want, about ourselves.
I don't get my way. Like I get really emotional about not getting my way. Like if I really want something and like I saw it for me and then I can't have it, or I can't like, and Chris calls that my only child syndrome.
Yeah, I mean that might come into play a little bit, but that's a whole other interview. No. So yeah, when it comes to being a generator, as hard as it is, just try for a year not to initiate. So it doesn't mean that you still can't, if it's something for yourself that you want to create, like you're not making this podcast so that, you'll be recognized by like, Oprah or whatever. You're doing this because it's something that you feel so passionate about and it's something you want to do. You're not looking for outside validation on this. You want to do it for yourself. So go for it. On those types of things, you don't have to you don't have to wait to be initiated by someone else. You can go ahead and start projects. You can start painting or, do whatever you want to do. That's fine. But when it comes to like manifesting things and creating a life and coming into opportunities, the best way for you to navigate those situations is to wait, not to wait for a person to initiate you, but for life to present itself to you. So it's almost like something just kind of falls into your lap, and then you have the choice to accept it or to pass. Okay. And you'll know whether or not to accept it and jump in or to pass on it when you listen to your emotional wave. Okay.
Okay. So like just to go back to the podcast thing, for instance. So
yeah.
It's not like anyone said like, hey, Krista, you should do a podcast, other than you, but like right now in this moment.
Yep.
When I first started thinking about it, it was more of like I'm listening to podcasts thinking, man, I would really love to do this. This like really resonates with me. I'm like listening to this person talk and feel like I could do this and I want to do this for other people. Is that it presenting itself to me, or is that me initiating? You know what I mean?
No, and that's perfect. So yes, go for it. That is the world presenting an opportunity, a feeling within you, and then you have the choice to act on it. So just because it's a thought that came into your head or something that you saw and it attracted you to it doesn't mean that you have to act on it. Okay. So when it comes to me in human design, nobody invited me to become, and I have to actually get a personal invitation from another human in order to pursue something. So like an invitation and recognition from a person. You don't need that. You just need kind of that that push from the universe, and you need an opportunity to fall into your lap or come into your energy field, and then you can choose yes or no based on your emotions. So for me, nobody invited me to study human design, but as a projector, we are meant to be guides and teachers and to study different systems and become masters at them so that we can teach other people about them. And this is something that I started studying for myself. And all I have to do is put it out there into the universe, which I do on Instagram. And that's how people find me. And that's how I've been invited to speak about it, is from you looking at my Instagram, having that connection, feeling that little ping within you, and then you inviting me in.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. Yeah. You don't have to just sit and wait and do nothing. You can still pursue the things that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's a common misconception. Actually, just the other day, I had a client who I did a reading for, and she's a generator also. And she was like, okay, so am I not allowed to make like vision boards? And like, can I not manifest anything? And I'm like, no, go for it. Like, nobody needs to, the world doesn't need to invite you to make a vision board. Go for it. And that's like, and I think now that I know that this is a common misconception, I'm going to be more verbal when it comes to generators to let them know that you can pursue the things and you can work on projects that you want to, if it's for you. But don't try and gain the attention of other people, because chances are if you push it and you initiate that, it's not going to end the way that you want it to.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. I'm glad it's all making sense. So, and then next I'll talk about the aura type. So we all have different aura types, each human design type. So your aura type is open and enveloping. So you take all of life in. People are just naturally attracted to your energy. You do good in like group settings. You can command an audience. People are attentive to you. They want to listen to you. They want to look at you. It just comes naturally. You don't need to try. That's why you shouldn't initiate things, because your aura already does that for you. So you have a very welcoming presence. And this is all generators, including manifesting generators. So this hasn't changed for you. You have a very welcoming presence to others who come in contact with you. Your openness will allow life to happen for you and for those opportunities and people to find you with ease. So you don't have to force those things. They just come to you. So as long as you trust that, it will happen. As difficult as it is to like wrap your mind around, it's true.
I do get that. Like I've always said I've lived a very blessed life. Like opportunities constantly present themselves to me, and I haven't had to struggle as much as some other people have. Like even working in the government, like I was given opportunity after opportunity, like, and I never really had to do like a lot of competitions and stuff within the government. Like I would get a tap on the shoulder and be like, hey, we see something in you, come do this for a few months. And then like, hey, come do this project. Like, and I thrived on that.
Yeah. And that's just proof right there that your aura just invites that. And then just your work ethic too, and the way that you go about, presenting yourself, and the way that you work, and your determination and motivation and your willpower. People see that. You don't have to tell people that you possess those things.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like some people get annoyed that I was getting these opportunities, but it's like I worked for those opportunities. Like I still shone. Like you know what I mean? Like I still put time and effort and energy into being seen by those people to get those opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. And I find too, those people were probably projectors, because it's we can feel bitter when people get things that we want.
Yeah.
So I empathize with those people, because I've been there.
Yeah.
But they don't know. They're not living their design, and that's why they're living in their not self.
Yeah, and actually I find that like it's hard for me to have good relationships with some people, because I find they get angry if like, because sometimes I've had a couple relationships where their life has been really crap, going really badly, and mine's going really well. And then so it makes it really hard to communicate. Like, and I'm really good at being open and listening and like trying to help them work through their problems. But there's always like at some point when that person like just doesn't want to like change their mindset and like move out of that negative space, where like our relationship just falls apart. Like they get mad at me or something because they can't handle my positivity, or I don't know, like.
Well, it's just because you're functioning at different vibrations, right? So your vibration is like up high, and the more positive you feel and think about yourself or the outside environment, the more positive things are going to come to you. So when you're stuck in that, and whenever I'm going through like a depressive state, before I was aware of human design or just, law of attraction or any of that, when I was in a depressive state, I would always be like, oh, woe is me. Like, why is this happening to me? And like, why can't I get out of this funk? And like, I would just continue to be in that never ending cycle. And it's only when I started, you know, teaching myself that, positive affirmations and thinking positively and knowing that I deserve these good things, that's when you get yourself out of that,
Yeah.
that funk. Obviously, I'm not saying that like that's the only way to get out of it. Um, but it does play a huge role. So the people who are, feeling sorry for themselves or feeling frustrated or bitter and are willing to let go of a friendship with you because their life isn't going according to plan, that's a reflection of how they're living their life. It has nothing to do with like all the amazing things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I took it, right? Like, I'm just like, it's fine. Like, cause I would reach out and then they just stop talking, like they'd ghost, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
after years of friendship, I've had two people who have done that, where after years of friendship, they just like full on just ghost me. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. Then
Yeah.
we're not meant to be friends right now in this space. And that's okay. Like,
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if you're going through your whole adult life living in the same headspace, the same energy, the same like vibration, and never leveling up, you're going to see a lot of people around you who are just going to kind of bypass you because they are leveling up, which is what you're continuously doing. You're evolving into the newer version of yourself. So there's going to be people that kind of fall along the way and that you no longer resonate with energetically, or, those friendships are going to kind of, I don't want to say suffer, but they're going to be non-existent over time because you are leveling up, but they're not. They're staying in the same spot.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So next is the incarnation cross. So this is probably my favorite part of human design. I know a lot of human design analysts and readers, they won't include this in the initial reading, but I like to because a lot of people that I talk about human design with, they're looking for a sense of purpose and they're looking for something that is going to make their soul feel happy and fulfilled. So maybe they are successful and they're happy in their life and they have a great relationship, but there's just something deep within them and it's like an unanswered question. And the incarnation cross, it just kind of opens up a whole new door. It doesn't tell you exactly what you're meant to do for a living. So it's not going to say like you should be a doctor or that type of thing.
Yeah.
But it will give you a sense of purpose so that you can take that purpose and create a job for yourself or create those opportunities for yourself. So you have a right angle cross, and it's called the right angle cross of rulership. So, I mean, it can sound kind of scary, and there's so many different ones. There's so many different incarnation crosses. So I'll start just by saying, hold on here. I want to read this one little passage so that people can understand the differences between the crosses. There's right angle cross, there's left angle cross, and then there's a juxtaposition cross. So juxtaposition, they're very rare, and it's almost like a fixed fate. So people who have like a juxtaposition cross, they have a fixed fate. So they're kind of they're meant to do this one specific thing. And whether or not they agree with it or not, they can go off path, but it will always come back to them.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Have you had a lot of people with it?
happen. It doesn't happen often. It's
Have you ever
very,
had someone with it?
no, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
That would freak me out if I saw that for somebody.
yeah. And it doesn't say anything about like you're gonna die at this age.
No,
Or
but
it's not
like,
like
what if
that
it's
kind of
bad,
thing.
right? Like, what if your destiny is bad? Like,
It's your destiny, and usually none of the destinies are bad or negative. But sometimes it will really resonate with you, and that just means that you're on track and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in life, and that's why you feel that sense of fulfillment. But sometimes people are just, they're in denial, or they're afraid, or they've just been conditioned that they are so far away from their incarnation cross that it like is kind of painful to read, and they're like, no, I cannot see myself doing anything like this. But for the most part, I've done probably about 20 readings in the past year, and everybody really resonates with their incarnation cross. So you can take it for what it is. So right angle cross designs live a life for themselves. So it's a personal life theme. Left angle crosses live a life for others. It's a transpersonal life theme. So you have a right angle cross. Okay. So you can feel fulfilled by achieving success like on your own. Of course you like to help others and you like to, give wisdom and, explain things to other people, and communities and relationships are important too. That's not necessarily what it means. It just means that you can feel fulfilled and successful and have purpose in your life with yourself. You don't need an outside source to provide that for you. Whereas I have a left angle cross. I cannot find purpose in my life unless I'm helping other people. It's the only way for me.
Wow.
And as soon as I read that, I was like, yep, that is so true. So yeah, it's really interesting. So I'll read about what your cross actually means. So people naturally look to you to be the one who has the knowledge and resources to take charge. And I got this from your government job. People just kind of naturally were gravitated towards you because they trusted that you were capable of doing the job. So much of your wisdom comes from your broad view on what has worked in the past, and from the knowledge that enduring solutions take time, perseverance, and dedication. So you know that in order to make something work and to be a success at something, you need to be, you need to have perseverance, you need to be dedicated, and you need to know that there is a solution and you are capable of coming to that conclusion. So even when you think that you've come to a solution, so for example, that Facebook page that you thought it would be the solution to the women in photography in Niagara, you're like, this is going to be awesome, we're going to help each other, we're going to solve each other's problems. So even when you find the solution, it doesn't guarantee that everybody is going to be immediately approving or supportive of that idea. So just because you think you have the answer, it doesn't mean that it's the answer other people are going to go for. There are always multiple answers to lots of different dilemmas, right? So promoting leadership comes easily to you and is readily acceptable by those you wish to impress. However,
By promoting leadership.
pardon?
What does promoting leadership mean?
So promoting leadership means that you are capable of promoting yourself as a leader, promoting others as leader. People trust you. If you were to say to people, Paige should be trusted in the realm of hair and makeup or human design, like, take my word, trust me that you can confide in her for these situations because she has the power to lead you in the direction you want to go. Yeah. Or you can also promote yourself as a leader. So if you talk about things that you know about and feel confident about and secure about, people will naturally be drawn to you as a ruler or a leader in that specific area. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. And that only comes when when you're seen and recognized and heard. So if you kind of like fake it till you make it, that saying does not ring true to you, and people can see through that. So you have to truly believe in what you are offering and what you are presenting to people in order for them to feel that sense of rulership, or like in order to see you as a teacher or someone that they can trust, you have to really know what you're talking about. You need to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
That's funny because that's what I've always felt was holding me back from doing my coaching program and from doing a podcast, was that fear of imposter syndrome, that I'm not ready yet, that I'm not enough, that I don't know enough yet, I haven't done enough yet. That's what keeps holding me back from doing them.
Mm-hmm. So you can go back now and you can, how you live your life in the three distinctive, series of the first 30 years is collecting the trial and error, figuring out what works and what doesn't. So now you're in the middle stage of using that wisdom to help others. So you are ready. This is the time when you should be doing those things. Okay. Yeah. And then lastly, I'll just read a little bit. Being in touch with your community and paying attention to their needs will serve you very well, especially in times of trial. So if you wanted to do your podcast and surround it around either women in business or photography in general, the wedding industry, whatever you decide to do it on, just being in touch with what your listeners want and not just what you want to talk about.
Does that make sense? Like this podcast or this YouTube channel, because of COVID, is how it all stemmed, right? Yep. Wanting to help my clients who are asking me questions about COVID and having their weddings during COVID, and then realizing like I could probably serve them by interviewing other past couples, and then that went well. So then it was like, why don't I interview other industry leaders and show them what it's like for those different areas of the industry, because they probably have questions about that too.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Exactly. Um, so always keep it in the back of your head, no matter what. Remember your type and your authority. Okay. So your emotional wave and the fact that you are a generator, so you can act once something presents itself to you. And that will help guide you into making your own cleared choices in what you want to do and how you want to offer the type of rulership that you're capable of. So you're meant to be in charge. You're meant to be a boss. Um, you're meant to have other people look up to you for wisdom and advice. So it's not telling you exactly what to do, but it's
Yeah.
telling you like these are all components that you should definitely take and incorporate into your career path.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so I talked about the strategy to respond to life already. So I'm going to bypass that little section. And then the theme is satisfaction and then frustration. So you feel satisfied when you're living in your design. And then when you're not living in your design, you feel that frustration. So we already covered those. So now I'll go over the centers in your chart that you have defined. So if you want to scroll up to the top where your actual chart is, and then, so when you have definitions, so I'll explain what that means. So the centers are all of the different, oh, hold on, my phone is ringing. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, so in our chart, we have 9 different centers, all of those little shapes in the body graph. Those are your centers. So for people who are aware of like the chakra system, it's very similar to that. So when it's colored in, that means you have definition in that center. So you have most of your centers defined, which means that those are a constant and reliable source of energy that you can rely on to navigate throughout life. So your authority is your emotional center. That's what you should always fall back on when it comes to making a final decision. But you also have a lot of other areas in your chart that you can rely on because you have definition there. So the 2 areas of your chart that are not defined, so the top part, which is like the head, the triangle, yep, and then the diamond is your G center. So those are undefined. So when you don't have definition, it doesn't mean that you don't have those centers in your body. You do. You have that energy. It's just not a constant, reliable source that you can rely on. Okay. So that's why it's important. You should never rely on your head to make decisions, because that's not a constant part of your design. And not many people have that part of their design defined. So we as humans, we shouldn't make choices based on our thoughts and our mind alone. Okay.
Okay. And what area of the body is this?
So that is the G center, and the G center represents self-love and direction. So having a clear sense of direction. And not a lot of people have the G center defined either, which is why there are so many people who turn to systems like human design, because they're looking for that sense of direction. And they're open to different interpretations and, trial and error, those types of things, because they don't have a clear set. So you might meet someone and they know exactly what they want. They've known from the time they were 10 that they wanted to be a doctor, and they went to school, they became a doctor, and they're living their life. Those people probably, I would put money on it, have a defined G center.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And it's fun too when you meet different people. You can, once you learn about the different centers, you can kind of guess what they are. Like I'll watch movies and I'll be like, oh, that person's a projector for sure. It's fun. It's like a little game.
I'm already doing it. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
like, I wonder what my mom is. Like, I wonder what my dad is.
And I think it's hard with the older generations because they were conditioned to be generators no matter what. Like that 9 to 5 work, family, children,
Yep.
that type of thing. That's it. The world was made for generators because they make up the majority of the population. So my mom is a projector, but she definitely was not raised as a projector. And now that she knows she is one, she's kind of leaning into it, and things are starting to happen for her, which is really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'll go over, do you want me to go over the different centers
Yep.
and what they do? Yeah, okay, cool. So I'll start with the ANJA, which is ANJA. So this center is responsible for your mental consciousness, conceptualizing, interpreting answers as opinions, concepts, and theories. Okay. So there's a typo in my chart. I apologize. The Anja Center is a processing hub. So it's transforming the pressure of inspiration into useful information for you to review, research, and communicate. Okay. So nowhere does it say that you should make decisions based on this part of your body. Okay. So this is also the head and the anja, they make up the mind. Okay. So those two centers, when they're defined and connected, that makes up your mind. Okay. So just something to think about. So only about 47% of the population has a defined Anja center. And this means that you have a constant and reliable mental function. So you're able to conceptualize, inspire, and pressure other people to think. So if you're around some people, a group of people, and if there's anybody in that group that doesn't have definition here, the fact that you do have definition is going to inspire them to think. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So your mind is used for processing data, creativity, and it also acts as an outer authority for others. So it can influence others who don't have definition there. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you ignore your strategy and authority and start making decisions from your mind, you're going to waste a lot of energy obsessing about things that don't even have significance anymore. So you're almost going to like create problems. It's where a lot of anxiety comes from in people, because they're constantly playing scenarios over and over again in their mind, and basing their emotions and the way that they respond to things based on these. So that will never serve anybody. Doesn't matter what your design type is.
Okay.
So next is the spleen, and that is the little brown triangle on the left side of the chart. Now this is where I have my authority from. So my authority is the spleen, and it's responsible for body consciousness, existential living, being spontaneous, your health and well-being, your values, and your immune system. So you have definition there as well. It's also responsible for your intuition. So if you feel like you're an intuitive person, it's all coming from your spleen center. Okay. So for people who think that the spleen has no purpose, here we go. This is what it represents.
Sorry, can I just stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
One thing I thought was really interesting about this whole spleen business, when I wasn't living in my design, I would get sick a lot.
Yep.
Lot.
Yep.
I haven't been sick in like since I quit my job. I have not gotten a cold. I haven't gotten the flu. I haven't been sick.
I'm glad that you said that too. And so my authority is my spleen. I don't even remember the last time I was sick. I knock on wood, watch me get
right.
Something. I never, and my son is a projector. He has definition in his spleen, I believe, but he has like never maybe been to the hospital once in his whole life. Like we just don't get sick. Our immune system is very strong, and I'm not even always healthy with like my food choices or anything like that. So I do really think that because that's my authority and my immune system and my intuition is very strong, like I owe it to my splenic center for sure. And once I found that out about myself, I was like, oh damn, like this makes so much sense. So even if this is not your authority center, you still have it activated, and you can still pull from that intuition, and you still will tend to have a very strong immune system as well. So the thing with spleen is it's not like a verbal, you won't feel that inner yes or no like you will with your sacral center. It always operates in the present moment. So it's basically, it's one of the older awareness centers, and it'll tell you if something is safe or not. So based on like your survival. So if you're walking home from work one night and you turn down one street and you get that feeling like, ooh, I should not be walking down this street right now. Something is about to go down. That is your spleen sending you that warning signal to get the hell out of there. Okay. So that's like it's all based on your intuition. Okay. And your survival. So over time, humans have allowed their mind to override their intuition, which is why most people are unaware of this subtle inner voice coming from their splenic center. So a lot of people ignore their intuition. They push it down. They think it's like woo woo, or that it doesn't exist, or that it's not real. And that's because we've just been conditioned as humans to think and make decisions based on our mind instead of our intuition.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the spleen. And then I'm going to talk about the solar plexus. So this is your authority center. This is where you make your decisions, your compass, as you called it. So your solar plexus is responsible for spirit consciousness, emotional and social awareness, passion and desire, abundance of spirit, feelings, moods, and sensitivity. So this is a big one. If you have solar plexus definition, it will always trump all of the other centers, and it will always be your authority.
Okay.
Okay, so it's the head honcho, and a lot of people, and it's funny when you think about it, because we're taught not to make choices based on like how we're feeling emotionally.
Yeah.
But this is actually the biggest authority center, and it trumps all the other ones when it's activated. So with emotional authority, you move from peaks to valleys based on expectation. This wave will crash when the desire or expectation is not met. So perfect example, you had an expectation and a thought of you being a manifesting generator. And then when that was not met, you like crashed and burned hard and fast, and you
Yeah.
felt all of the things,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Yeah, and this is your authority. This is your actual authority, like telling you this. And it's funny because before you didn't have that as your authority center. So it kind of proves that it's valid and it's doing its job and it's working really well for you.
Yeah.
So the trick to transcending this wave, we were talking earlier, like, how do I know when to make that decision if I shouldn't, make choices when I'm feeling emotionally high or low, is to enter into something solely for the experience without placing any expectations on the outcome. Okay, so when you make a decision to do something, so for example, I'll go back to that Facebook group that you made. You had an expectation that you set for yourself that it was going to be a huge success. People were going to take part and want to be involved and ask questions and all that stuff. And it didn't happen because that expectation was not met. You then felt that, that frustration.
Yeah.
So as long as you go into things without having any expectations, that is it's a big key component to not feeling that frustration and to jumping into a huge emotional roller coaster when you don't have to.
So that's so very true for me. And like, again, I'll go back to like my earlier years where I would constantly be let down by expectations that I had of other people or of myself or certain situations. And I realized that that wasn't serving me. And I really have like curbed my level of what I expect of others or other people. And then that's then brought me to be more reliant on myself.
I
So
love
I
it.
don't expect a lot of things from other people. Like,
Yeah.
and in that situation, I probably had like very minor expectations of how it would turn out, with very basic expectations. But in the past, I might have had even grander expectations, been more frustrated. But I think that's why I was just kind of like, okay, cool. Like, you guys don't
Yeah.
want to do it. That's fine. We just won't do it. Like,
Yeah.
but I totally I totally resonate with this.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And this is the hub where like you pull a lot of your decision making from. Like all of your decision making should be pulled from this area. It probably won't be until you've been living in your design for a while. But the more you lean into this, the more it will serve you. So then I'm just going to go on and read a little bit more. So you must wait through the ups and downs of your emotional wave before making any important decisions. It's probably not going to be easy to be patient all of the time because you are a generator. You have that go, go, go mentality and you want to get things done. So as you move through that emotional wave, though, it's going to help you understand that your emotional cycle, it's a dynamic, it's a chemical process. So you can't hurry something. You have to allow it to run its course within your body. So that hope and that pain, and it'll point you into, sorry, I want to go back and read this
Mhm.
over again. My apologies.
Okay.
So as you move through your emotional wave, it will help you understand that the emotional cycle is a dynamic, a chemical process, and that hope and pain are not points of awareness. So, awareness for you, it comes as clarity at the end of the cycle. Okay. So, that point of clarity, that point of balance, um, it's in a sense, it's like playing hard to get also. So, with you, and your emotional center, and the fact that you have to wait out that emotional wave, you can apply this to business, to relationships. If there's any a time where somebody is like waiting for you, it's almost more alluring to them, the fact that you're making them wait. Okay. So that'll actually work in your favor. Don't think that they're going to pass up on you and go somewhere else, because that's not the case with you, and the fact that you have emotional an emotional center that's activated. So the longer others have to wait for you to respond, the more that they will want your energy and involvement. So when those who have a defined solar plexus do not wait out the emotional wave, they will tend to be impulsive, jumping in and out of experiences and decisions when they are feeling high or low. And this will create chaos and confusion, not only for yourself, but to the other people involved. Okay, so that's why it's important not to make any snap decisions. So, waiting through your wave will allow you to be in touch with how you are truly feeling about a situation instead of reacting in the moment and regretting it later.
What if I'm numb to a situation?
Uh, Usually, like, I'm not a doctor or anything, but usually numbness is the fact that you're like avoiding allowing yourself to feel something, whether it's like traumatic, or if you know that it's going to bring up emotions that you don't want to feel. Sometimes you kind of like shove that down and don't deal with it. I don't know if there's a specific instance that you wanted to talk about that I could, you know,
No,
give
I'm
some
just like I'm
clarity on.
wondering if there's something that's happening and maybe I just don't have any emotion related to it.
Yeah, then it isn't something that really you need to concern yourself with, in my opinion, because you are an emotional person and you have that solar plexus.
Yeah.
You naturally will be emotional towards things that touch you in some way, shape, or form. So if something happens and you feel absolutely no way about it, it's probably because it doesn't, like, I don't want to say it doesn't matter to you enough, but whether it's like a good or a bad outcome or neutral, it's not going to really affect you in the way that you live your life. If
Okay.
that makes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But usually you won't really be numb to anything. Like, you will feel things all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So then the next center that you have defined is your throat. So the throat center is in charge of communication and manifestation. So the metamorphosis and transformation through interaction with the outside world. So I know that it says manifestation here, but I don't want people to be confused and think like, oh, I have a defined throat center, I can just make all the things happen. So the throat center is like a very complex center. It's connected to a lot of different other centers through the gates in your graph. So if your body graph was a map of the town, the throat center would be the town square. Okay. So it's the center that is the most complex of the 9 centers, and all energy flowing through your body graph is under tremendous pressure to get to the throat and be communicated and acted upon. Okay. So the throat's primary function is manifestation through communication, expressing who we are, what we are thinking, feeling, creating, or learning. Okay. So it's manifesting your thoughts or your feelings into actual words and sound for the outside world to hear. Okay. So our own voice will come from the specific gate or channel that is defined and connected to the throat. So if you want to go back up to your chart, the throat center is right underneath of that green triangle. It's that big brown square. Okay. So gates and channels are those red and black lines. Okay. So you see how each center has different numbers
Mm-hmm.
inside of them? So your throat is connected to your Anja center through gate 56 and gate 11. Okay. So that's creating a channel.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to scroll back down so I can find the wording to explain.
Let me see here.
Yep. So you can stay there if you want to. Okay. So you have gate 56 activated in the throat center, which is the gate of stimulation. So the way that you communicate and you use your voice to manifest sounds that are coming from within you, it's coming from the Anja center. Okay. So this energy means that you are a stimulating storyteller and that you are able to captivate your audience and bring them on a journey with your words and your verbal expressions. So this alone is like, yes, do the podcast. That's what I got from this. As soon as I read this and wrote it out, I was like, okay, this is like proof right now. She has the gift to tell a story and to captivate her audience, and people want to listen to you. Okay. Having your throat center defined to another motor center means that you have the ability to do or manifest through your voice. It does not always mean that you should, though. So just because you have a great idea or a thought in your head or a story that you want to tell, it doesn't always mean that you should share that, because it's not always going to be received and people are not always going to react to it in the way that you want them to. So you might feel an urge to be impulsive, to talk too much, to do too much. So this is where it's always important to listen to that strategy and authority before acting on something or speaking about something.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So, and your chart actually has a lot of defined centers. So you have a lot of areas in your body that you can rely on to help you navigate. So it's really interesting because I don't even think I have half of the centers that you have, which is probably why we kind of vibe so well, because we feed off of energy and I'm amplifying the centers that I don't have defined because you do have them.
Huh.
Okay, so next is the heart. So the heart center represents your willpower, ego, and the material world. So this drives willpower. It's very influential. You can have influential forces in the world towards others who want to listen to you and who are in your inner circle. You tend to enjoy being in control of circumstances. And you may also have the tendency to be naturally competitive or have a desire to be first or to be really good at something. So I don't know if this resonates with you or not, but I feel like it does.
100%.
Awesome. So only 37% of the population has a defined heart center. I don't have a defined heart center. I wish I did, because I think it's an amazing center. You enjoy being in control of your own life and the resources that are available to you. So you don't want to depend on other people for those things. You want to be in control of those things. So deep down, you recognize your own value. That doesn't mean that you might have doubts that other people don't. You know within yourself that you have what your value is.
Yeah.
It's also important for you to exercise your willpower and to keep promises to yourself and to others regularly. So whenever you make a promise to someone or give someone your word, it's super important for you to follow through and deliver, because that's how people gain trust with you. If you tell someone that you're going to do something and you don't do it, they will automatically lose trust in you and perhaps not even trust you again, even if you do prove yourself. So it's important, only commit to things that you know you can follow through on. If you don't think you can, or if you're unsure, just let them know that you need more time to think about it and process it before you give them an answer.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't feel guilty or ashamed of using assertive words like I, me, or mine in your statements. It's not selfish. It's not selfish.
I do this a lot, and Chris always corrects me. He's like, we, ours. And I'm like, but it's my car. Like, it's our car. And I'm like, but you have your own car. This is my car.
I mean, that's a perfect example too. And if he wants to use those words, we and our, go for it. Use those words. That's fine. But it's you're programmed to use those words to describe I, me, mine in statements. So don't push that back. Don't think you're doing anything wrong. Let him know, I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, this is who I am, and this is something that is a part of me, and let him accept that.
I can't wait to share this with
him. He can't change. It's something like, it doesn't mean that you're selfish. It's not a selfish term. It's not. And I get from his perspective, because he needs that reassurance as a projector and that recognition. He feels like you're leaving him out of, the whatever it is. But it's something that is naturally within you. So if you recognize that in him, and you know that he appreciates when you use we and our, then do it, obviously. But it's something that you have to train yourself to do, because you naturally want to use I, me, those kind of statements. So these things, by talking this way, it's going to actually strengthen your heart center instead of suppressing your natural ego energy. So everybody thinks that the ego is this like big bad thing that makes us these like selfish, people, self-centered. But that's not always the case. Like we all have an ego. We're all human, right? So you want to nourish that part of you because it's actually going to make you a strong person. It's going to nurture that willpower and that desire and that drive that you have within yourself. So with a defined heart center, it's easy to get carried away and come across as too forceful sometimes. So something that's important for you to recognize and learn is that just because you think you know the best way, or if you have the answers to something, or if it's serving you well, it doesn't mean that that's the case for other people. So not to push that will or your ego, or those views on other people. Okay, so just let them live by their own design and make decisions based on what they want, and then you do you, kind of thing. So it's important to remember that just because you have the will and the competitive drive to strive for what's best for you, that most people you encounter don't have this ability. So because only 37% of people have a defined heart center, maybe you want to push people to do their best, and you want to, create goals for them. If you're planning on doing like a lesson plan or something like that, just understand that most people that you encounter, they're not going to have the same drive and ability as you do. Okay. So that's where like the empathy will come into place so that you can recognize that in other people. Okay, so two more defined centers. Next one is the root. So the root center is home of physical adrenalized pressure, and it sustains momentum for living as well as stress. So this is like the hub that deals with stress and pressure. So in your human design graph, you have three activations in the root center. You have gate 41, which represents the pressure to feel, the desire for a new experience in life. You also have gate 58, and that represents pressure to connect and correct and perfect.
Yep.
So I don't know if you're a perfectionist or if you want to correct things. If you know that there's a mistake there, you go in and you fix it.
Yep.
Let's see. And then lastly, gate 52, which is pressure to focus your energy and to concentrate on things. So I don't know if you find yourself working on something and you just get so in the zone, and you can keep working on it until you're finished and it comes to completion. So that's like a really great characteristic to have.
That's why
I wish I had that.
my turnaround time for complete wedding galleries is 2 weeks, which is like unheard of.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Because I need to get it done.
And you feel that pressure. You feel that pressure within you to get it done. And if you don't, and the longer you sit on it and just let it go, the more that pressure is going to build even more, right?
And I feel guilt.
Yes, guilt. That's so funny. Yeah, so you have that internal pressure to get things done, which is really cool. So because you have connection from your root into your sacral center through your channel 52 and 9, you have a logical format energy, and you tend to live life best when you have a step-by-step, logical and detailed way of organizing and doing things.
It's my A-type personality.
Yes, exactly. See, that's awesome. So that is the root. So last one that you have defined is your sacral center, and this is what makes you a generator type. The sacral center represents power of fertility, vital energy, responsibility, availability, and sexuality. So it is the life force energy. So generators, they are the life force energy of the world. Without generators, there would be nothing. Okay, because we projectors, manifestors, and reflectors, we don't have that life force energy. It all comes from you guys. It's very powerful. Anyone who has a defined sacral center is a generator by type. Every day, your sacral motor is going to generate a certain amount of energy, and it will feel like a constant buzz or humming within yourself. So this is genuine vitality, which can be experienced as restlessness, an inability to sit still, or the need to just burn energy and be active. So nothing is more important for you than to find personal expression and deep satisfaction by using your daily supply of energy for work or play. So I don't know if that resonates with you. I feel like it does. So your sacral center is very powerful in response. So when it's asked a yes or no question, it will immediately respond and know what is correct. So for generator types who are not emotional generators, they will usually have the sacral center as their general hub from which they make decisions. So when this is your only center that you make decisions on, so if you didn't have your emotional center, when someone asks you a yes or no question, your sacral will be like, yes, do it, or no, don't do it. So you still have definition there, which means that you still might get that ping that's saying yes or no, but you also have your solar plexus center, and that is where you have to make your decision. So once you get that yes or no ping from the sacral, turn to your emotions, sit through that emotional wave, and then make your decision from there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So allow life to happen first and then respond to it.
To
So that
make
is like
my decision, like at that point, is it just if I feel good about it? Is that it? Like,
yeah.
it's whatever my emotion's telling me about it?
Yeah, exactly. So if your sacral center is letting you know, like your sacral center, it'll let you know if you have the energy to take part in this activity, this relationship, this project, this new job, etc. Your sacral center, because it is the hub of your energy, it will let you know if you have enough energy or if you have to say no because you already are exerting yourself. So I think you mentioned to me before you were listening to a podcast and it said that generators are just supposed to work on one thing and be the master at that one thing, but that's not accurate. Generators can do all the things. You guys have an abundance of energy that you can put wherever you want to put it. But what happens is a lot of you guys experience burnout because you're dipping your hands in all of these different things when you don't actually have the resources and the energy to do so. So it's important to listen to your strategy and authority. That way you know whether or not you actually can commit to something and that you don't have to back out of it later.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we'll go to your undefined center, and you only have 2 of those. So when a center is undefined, it's an inconsistent source of energy for you. So it's still there. It's just not something that you should rely on to make decisions and to navigate through life. So undefined centers, they're also known as receptors. So what happens when you have a center that's undefined, you're actually going to sample the energy from your environment and from other people who have definition there, and you'll amplify it. Okay. So undefined centers are more prone to influence and conditioning. Your undefined centers are your head and then your G center. So I'll go into detail with both of those. So when you have an undefined head center, you have no constant way of deliberating mental information. So sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It's not always there for you to rely on. So if normal inspiration becomes an amplified pressure and you think about things that don't matter too much or that you shouldn't really care about too much, you can get lost in your own mental monologue. Okay. So it can just be like this vicious cycle that it feels impossible to get out of. So the potential of having an undefined head center is to wander and explore the mysteries of life. So one of the great things about having an undefined head center is that you can just soak in information and wisdom from other people around you and from the environments that you put yourself in. And you can really truly experience life to the fullest because you're not just set in a certain way of thinking. Okay. So you're able to use this information that is taken from others to become a great reflector of what other people are thinking. And you can help them discern the value of their thoughts for all of humanity. So all of the community. When you experience confusion or doubt, just let go of that compulsive need to resolve it within your mind and your thoughts. And deep down, you know that it will pass. Whenever you get stuck in your head and you're thinking about things like a constant reel or a loop going on, deep down, you know that if you let go of that, that moment will pass, right? So you're capable of being open to the beauty and the depth of the unknown. And you enjoy both the question and the confusion that life brings to you.
Yep.
Okay. So then the last undefined center is the G center. So about 43% of the population has an undefined G center. This means that you have no fixed identity. So it was funny, you posted something the other day before you even knew this, and it said something along the lines of your identity is not like fixed or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's very true because it's not. So it's not a negative thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. When people read this, they're like, oh, that sucks. I have no identity. It just means that you can blend easily or adapt to the people that you interact with.
Yeah.
Uh,
So like this, when I read this, actually really resonated with me because in high school, I was a floater. Like I was never part of like one group of friends. I was friends with everybody. Like I just kind of hopped in and out of different groups, right?
yeah, and that's awesome. And I'm the
I
same
forgot-
way. I had different groups of friends, right?
Yeah, I always called myself a chameleon. And that's like, I think like they
Perfect.
actually say that in here. And I was like, I've always thought of myself as a chameleon.
Yeah,
I can like literally vibe with like whoever I'm with.
I love that. And it's so true. And that's why it's because you have an undefined G center.
Huh.
So you're here to be initiated into many different ways of being. Okay. So you might be invited to do this or to do that or to go here with different groups of people. They all bring something special to your life and they all have something to offer you. Um, so that over time, after experiencing all of these different people and different energies, you can take those experiences and you can form a comfortable identity based on the knowledge that you've accumulated. So after years of in your first 30 years of being a drifter and a floater, you can understand more of what works for you, what resonates with you, what doesn't. So now moving forward, you can kind of create this identity for yourself based on the knowledge that you've accumulated over the years.
Awesome.
And then another big thing, a mantra for the undefined G center is if you're in the wrong place, you are with the wrong people. So if you ever find yourself in an environment or a scenario where it just doesn't feel right, that's a clear indicator that you are not with the right people. Okay.
How do
So
I
always,
find the right people?
how do you say? Just you got to live your design, and the right people will find you based on your aura and the energy that you give out.
Yeah.
Right. Um, so what else can I say about the G center? Okay. Your undefined G center is equipped to sense when an environment you are in is correct or not. So instead of feeling lost, people with an undefined G center can enjoy what is being shown to them. They can enjoy the people in the place, they can enjoy the encounter, and they are free to take advantage of the guidance that is given by others. Okay. So you're not set in your ways. You're very flexible and fluid. Okay.
Yes, it's so true.
Yeah, which
So-
is
sorry, I wonder like with people, I've never had a couple or clients that I didn't deal with. Like I just naturally have amazing clients. Like they're because I hear horror stories from like other clients talking about their experiences with
yeah.
their photographers or like photographers talking about their experience with clients and having like a bridezilla. Like I've never had, I don't even know what a bridezilla looks like because every single one of my couples has been like phenomenal and like we've just connected and gelled. Is that because I'm like doing what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, and that's all. That is so much like human design, and I relate with that so much. So people, your clients are finding you based on the energy that you're putting out into the world. So if somebody comes across your feed or your website, or they hear you speak, if they don't vibe with you and they don't gel with you, they're not even going to bother. Even
Yeah.
if they love your photography style and
Yeah.
the photos that you take, if they don't feel that immediate connection or vibe with you, they're just going to go on to the next photographer because they automatically, your aura is out there for them to feel,
Yeah.
and they'll know automatically if you're going to be a good person that they want around for their wedding day or not.
Yeah.
And it's a great way because you don't have to experience these negative, bridezilla moments, because your aura already kind of does that for you before
Yeah.
you even have to interact with them, which is awesome.
Yeah. Like I'm always just like, and I was taught early on to like really focus on just like not being any, like I don't need to be everybody's photographer, right? Like I'm just looking for my ideal clients. That's it. Like people
Exactly.
that resonate with me. And that's why I try to be like, that's why I'm as authentic as possible in my website, in my communications and what I put out in the world, because I don't want to get the wrong people. I don't, you know what I mean? I want to get all the awesome couples that I get.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And I think that I resonate with that a lot too. And I was kind of at a crossroads when I had, I had a separate boudoir page, and then I started getting into human design, and I had a lot of people say, like, you should do it separately because some people, they don't want to hear about human design and blah blah blah. And I get where they're coming from. I understand, and I'm sure that I've lost followers since I started doing human design. It doesn't bother me. I'm not on there to get more followers. I've gained followers who are completely like, just involved in the whole human design thing, and I like having everything in one place because it's going to weed out those clients that I might not gel with. So
Yep.
it's doing the work for me, and I'm, living my design and doing the things and putting all of these things out there because I'm passionate about them. So
Yeah.
the same thing goes for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
awesome.
something I've been struggling with because I'm like kind of entering into this coaching and providing sort of like my expertise on running a business and being an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
But I'm like, do I bring that into my photography business? Because there's the really only one connection is that I'm offering photography services for entrepreneurs as well,
Yeah.
right? So I'm just like, I'm worried about not upsetting, but like turning away people that might not really realize that
Mhm.
I am, a wedding photographer.
No, and I get
Showing
that, and that was definitely a struggle that I had to face too when I chose. And maybe down the line, if I get, really busy with human design, I'll have to make a separate, website and account for that. But right now, I'm able to kind of mold everything together into one package. So I think it's really all about what you want to do. Like if you feel comfortable having all of that content in one place, go for it. Because if I see that you're a coach and you can mentor, and you're into, empowering women, the fact that you do wedding photography, it's not going to deter me from hiring you as a coach,
no. Yeah.
right? Yeah. And the fact that if I'm getting married and I want to hire you as my wedding photographer, the fact that you do coaching in those areas, it's not going to deter me from hiring you as my photographer. So to me, they work well together and you can package them together in one place. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it's going to be what you feel right doing.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, for me, it's just figuring out that marketing aspect of it. I mean, how I want to market and how I want to show up for the people that are watching and that are fans of my page, right? Because,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of different people, but they all are somewhat similar in some regards. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so we're on the last part of like the basic human design reading, and I go over defined channels. So, like I mentioned earlier, the channels are when two different gate numbers. I don't know if you want to go back up to your chart or not.
Sure.
So each one of those little shapes has numbers. So
Yeah.
each number represents a gate.
Okay.
So when you have gates that are activated, it will create like a half line, either in red or in black in your conscious or your subconscious design.
Yeah.
So when you have two gates that are activated, they connect and they form a channel. Okay, so it's like a circuit board almost. So these are like the wires that you have activated. So everybody has the same design. We all have the same channels, but we only have some defined channels. Okay. Um, so this is representative of the 64 gates that are inspired by the I Ching. It's an ancient Chinese divination tool.
Okay.
It dates back to the 10th century BC, so it's been around for a while. And this is where the channels come from and the definitions of the channels. Okay, so I'm going to go over your channels. You have quite a few. I think there's 5. Um, and then when I did your husband, he only has one defined channel. So it's just interesting to see um,
Yeah.
what everybody's design is so different, and it makes sense when you look at it and you understand people's personalities. So your first channel is 1156, which is the channel of curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay, so your creativity and style of presentation becomes magical when you weave together ideas and stories from a philosophical reflection on what it means to be a human experiencing life. Okay, so I thought that was like beautiful. You have the gift of taking a sequence of ideas and fashioning a story out of them that can teach or entertain the audience. So that's perfect for you. Like it's so perfect for what you do. Your photography, your coaching, your YouTube channel, your soon to be podcast, like this all you can create this really pretty aesthetically pleasing beautifully sounding story either visually or with audio and it's going to attract people, and it's going to make people curious about what you have to offer. So these are stories to be shared, collected, and stored for reflection and interpretation by current and future generations. So your stories and your podcasts and the experiences that you are sharing with the people who are watching you, we're going to take those, we're going to save them, we're going to store them in our memory, and we're going to use them for, future generations. They're going to learn from you and from your experiences if
That also
you
speaks,
want them to.
yeah, and that speaks to the photography too, right? That's one of the things is like
Yeah.
I'm capturing your moment and your story so that you can, I literally say this in my verbiage, so you can share it with future generations to come.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and this is a part of you. You are meant to do that. So when you follow your strategy and authority will come up all the time. It's the two things that you really need to like jump into. You'll become a more skillful storyteller that will enjoy sharing your extraordinary gifts with others. So it'll be effective, it'll be informing, it'll be entertaining, and it will stimulate whoever taps into what you have to offer. So I thought that was an awesome channel for you to have activation in. The second one is 2644, and it's the channel of surrender. So this channel presents a gift for instinctually assessing others and for matching them with products, jobs, or even ideologies. So when you meet someone, correct me if I'm wrong or not, but you usually have a good idea of like what they would like, how they would react to certain things. And then you can kind of be that chameleon and shape yourself in a way that will be appealing to them.
1000%.
Awesome. I love that.
And I also know the second I meet someone if I like them or not.
Yeah, amazing. That's perfect. That's also your intuition too. That intuitive center that's activated will help you discern who's right for you and who's not. So you are not one who is designed to work that 8-hour shift a day in an office setting. You will actually accomplish more in a compressed amount of time than most people can in an entire day. So you're extremely effective and efficient with your time and the way that you give your energy, which is awesome. And I'm very jealous. I wish I had that. So you can trust your instincts to guide you through life. You can rely on your intuition and your persuasion to effectively relay your message to others. You have a sense of what will appeal to the collective. So you know what people want to see, you know what people want to hear, and it's up to you to deliver it in a beautiful and appealing way to your audience. This is a very valuable asset to anyone in the creative field, including photography. That's awesome. Yeah.
I'm living my design.
Pardon?
I'm living my design.
See, there we go. That's my whole mission. What's a manifesting generator? Who needs that, right? So the next one is 3041, which is the channel of recognition. So you are someone with a great imagination and an endless yearning to take life in and feel it deeply. So your dreams, fantasies, or wishes, they sometimes create expectations that when you leave in the hands of fate, they might not be fulfilled or realized. So the secret for you is to simply enjoy your dreams and each experience in itself without giving into the pressure of expectations. So I know we touched on that earlier. This is just kind of touching base on it again. Whenever you dive into life and just want to experience everything, it's important for you not to have expectations. Just enjoy the ride and don't even think about what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not always about the destination. Just enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
This is the way that your experiences will be more fulfilling, your reflections more poignant, and your sharing more likely to stir feelings within others. Okay, so then the second to last one is 3254, which is the channel of transformation. So this channel is best described in a tribal context. So tribal support, it begins when your talents are recognized and your efforts are encouraged through what is reflected back to you by those who you have helped. So you like to be recognized, you like to be encouraged within your tribe and your community. So it's something that is very important to you. You're easily recognized and rewarded for your efforts. Promotions and success come easily to you, which is a fact that you told me about your past career. You willingly work harder than anyone else to prove your own worth and value. And your goal is to experience this drive for recognition as a healthy interdependence that is mutually beneficial. So you're not only doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the greater good of your community. You're working hard and you're pushing yourself and you want to be recognized because you know it's going to help the collective.
So, yeah.
And that's awesome. So you also understand that transformation is not something that you're able to accomplish on your own. You know that moving up the ladder is always dependent upon the help and the support of others around you. So you know you can't get there on your own. You know that it's important to have others around you to show you that support and recognition.
Yep.
And then last but not least, you have the channel of power, which is 3457. So you have the potential to perfect your powers of survival and thriving. So you do this through intuitively based responses. So again, touching on your intuition. Your health and well-being is extremely important to you. And you do not take kindly to anything or anyone who dares disturb this part of you. So if you choose to disturb your own health and well-being, that's fine. But if someone else comes along and tries to do that,
Yeah.
hell no, like not happening. You know, once you become self-empowered, you become an inspiring example of what it means to enjoy being alive and unconditioned by your outside surroundings. So you can encourage people to live an authentic life and not to care so much about what other people think and about outside influences. So embrace all of your moods without trying to fix them or figuring them out. And that's it. That's you. What do you think?
That's pretty bang on. There's not really anything that you said that I
Awesome.
didn't resonate with on this one.
Cool. That's amazing. And then the last page of all my human design reports, I always just say, even if, let's say, for example, I were to give you this reading and there was like 50% of the things you did not resonate with, to me, that just lets me know that you're not living in your design. So I always tell people, whether or not you agree with what was just presented to you, live in your design for at least 1 year, if you're able to. So if you're capable of waiting for the invitation, or if you can set aside 1 year to just live this as an experiment, okay? So let go of any expectations. Don't do it because you think you're going to have like the best life afterwards. Just live it and listen to your strategy and your authority for a full year, and then come back and tell me how friggin' amazing it is to be living in your design, because things just start to unfold and it feels like magic, and there's no other way to describe it.
Yeah.
And I only know this because I've been living in my design for almost 3 years now. And it's after that 1 year of experimenting, I was like, yeah, I'm in. This is amazing. Like sitting and waiting to be invited is like the best thing ever. Whereas before I was like, yeah, no, thank you. I don't want to wait.
And so you get like it happens for you a lot. Like you get
A
invited.
lot.
Yeah.
Yep. So perfect example. So you've invited me to do these talks. Yesterday, I got a message from another person who has a podcast. They want me to come on and talk about human design. And then my other girlfriend, who is a reflector, she's going to do a Facebook Live with me and just messaged me to ask if I wanted to talk about human design on her Facebook Live. And she does journal therapy, so she can help people move through trauma and just, negative experiences or emotions through journaling. So we're going to work together and kind of incorporate our two passions. Yeah. So it happens to me all the time. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we did this. I honestly like if everyone in the world could do this and just like have a badge, this is what they are. So
yeah. Hello, my name is.
Yeah, right. And you do gift certificates, right? Because I think this is an amazing gift to give somebody. Like I know like everybody that knows me, it's in my circle will be getting this as a gift this year at some point. Because I think it's just so invaluable. And I'm purely curious to know what some people in my life are.
Yeah. No, you do. It becomes this little game that you play with yourself. Just, I will guess what they are, and then I'll get their birth information, and then I'll be like, oh, I was right. So it's like, yes.
But what if like some people don't know because it's not on on a birth certificate what their birth time is? So what do you recommend for that? Because that's one of the important keys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So birth time and location. Some people will say, well, like I had a C-section. Does that affect my birth time or is that going to mess up the universe and the planets? No, like you're born when you're supposed to be born, where you're supposed to be born, whether it was in a taxi cab in New York or whatever. Um, so when it comes to the specific time for the basic reading, and I did this as an experiment to find out for sure if it made sense in order for me to tell people who don't have a birth time. If it's within like even 2 or 3 hours, give or take, of what you think, it really won't make a difference in the basic. Once you dive deeper and go into the deeper layers, then that's when your birth time really comes into play. So, for example, I took my chart and I went 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, all the way up to like 4 hours, and it did not affect my chart at all.
Okay.
It did affect the deeper layers though. So
Okay.
if you have no idea what time you were born and you want to go in deeper, there is a way that you can. There are certain astrologers, and I don't know how they do it. I've never done it myself, but they can actually go back through your certain life events, and they can predict your birth time by going backwards. I don't even know the science behind it, but I know that it is possible. I'll try and think of the name so that I can give it to you if you're interested. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you're not really aware, you can also contact your hospital and you can pay a fee and they can go into the records, and they can give you your birth time.
Oh, that's a great tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So now there's like websites where people can plug in their information and get free, like just like you are, a
Yeah.
generator, you're a projector. But then what you recommend obviously is then they come get an actual professional reading, right? Like a full
Yes.
report.
Exactly. So I'm a projector and my profile is a 5-1. So I'm an investigator. So when I found out what I was, instead of going and paying for a reading from someone, I just did all the research myself because I love doing that. But
Yeah.
some people, they'll plug their information into, there's one site called Jovian Archive. There's another one called My Body Graph. And then another one I use is geneticmatrix.com. So you plug your information in, it will pop out this chart and a little bit of information on what you are, but
Yeah.
it doesn't go into detail describing. So you're presented with this information, you're like, what the hell does this mean? This is so foreign to me. So if you don't like doing the research, like you could just type in 5-1 splenic projector, and then you can find all this information online for free if you want to. But if you don't want to go in and do all that work and sift through all of the different websites,
Yeah.
definitely get a professional reading from somebody.
Yeah, like
Um,
when you told me, so you told me yesterday or last night that I was an emotional generator. And you sent me my form, but like my report, but I still like went and like did Google and like listened to podcasts about generators, but like I didn't get anything out of that, like what I got out of just doing this full reading with you.
that's
Like
awesome.
I had a
I
hard
appreciate
time, like,
that.
yeah, I had a hard time reading through the report on my own and really comprehending it the way you talked about it and like the way we could kind of go back and forth. Cause I'm also like a tactical, I guess, learner. Like I don't learn well from just reading. I need to like experience things.
Yeah.
And communication is one of them, right? So
Yeah. And I appreciate you bringing that to attention for people who are watching this.
mhm,
So it's always in writing. It's always a PDF form. I usually refer back to a lot of books in order to get this information. So what is happening now, because human design is kind of like a trend right now, there's a lot of people hopping on board and learning. There's a lot of people who have only been in their design for a couple years and now they're analysts and now they're becoming teachers and teaching other people how to be analysts, but it's almost like taking the original wording from the literature and from the creator of this system and they're putting their own spin on it. There's even another school that emerged and they've actually taken the manifester and generator and projector and reflector and they've given them new names and they've given manifesting generator like their own category. So you have to, when you're doing your own research, it's important um, to kind of find out, like take in all the information you want to, but if you find that you're looking into something and then you look into another website for the same information and it's different, chances are one of those or even both of those people have taken it and put their own spin on things. So there is no there is a human design school. There's a few of them, and the creator, his name is Ra. He had this kind of like out of body experience, and a voice came, and over the period of 8 days, he was given all of the information on human design.
Wow.
And that's how it came to be. That is how human design. And there's no way that this 40 or 50-year-old man could have come up with this information on his own. Like, it's impossible.
That's
um
crazy. I
it
didn't know
is
that.
crazy. And I think, yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people are like, oh, this is woo woo, like it's bananas, like I'm not falling for this type of thing. But it's actually not. There's a scientific component to it. It takes into account all of the different systems, so it's not just like a Western thing or like a white thing or anything like that. It takes in all of these different cultures, all of these different perspectives and viewpoints. It's not religious. It's not telling you that you need to let go of these belief systems that you already hold near and dear to you, in order to follow this system. So I always say, use it as an experiment. Take from it what you find valuable. If there's things that you don't resonate with, like, it's not saying that it won't work if you don't take this. It's meant to be used as an experiment, and it's meant to help you learn about yourself so that you can accept yourself and love other people around you.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like, the fact that like you and I barely knew each other, like we didn't know this much
Yeah.
detail
I know.
literally 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And then like for you to like write this, just plug in my details and like basically just like no, like I was just like, me, like how do
Right.
you know me? Like and things about me that like you wouldn't just know from anything I've put out in the world. So I think that's really cool. I 100% believe in this. I think everybody needs to get a reading done through
Mhm.
you.
Thanks.
Use my vocal influence, everybody.
Yes,
Paige is amazing.
thank you.
Also hire her for your wedding and hair, makeup and hair.
Yes, please.
And do boudoir with her because I'm gonna
Yeah,
be doing that. All the things with Paige. You're absolutely wonderful, Paige. I love you. You're my new soul sister, and I'm so
thank
excited
you.
to have you in my
I
life.
feel so recognized. My projector self is like beaming right now. That's awesome.
Good. I want you
Thank,
to. And I'm
thank you.
excited. So we're gonna do maybe we might do a couple session with you, right?
Yeah.
I thought that would be really cool, like especially for my audience that's here on YouTube are generally couples. So I thought like, wow, what an awesome opportunity for people getting married to be able to get these reports done individually, but then also you're able to take them and marry them and
Yeah.
give them sort of a report as who they are as a couple.
Yeah, so that's something that I really would like to focus more on, is bringing two separate human design profiles together. If you're in a relationship and the program that I have, it overlaps them, and it shows sometimes you might have just half of a gate, like a gate, and they might have the other gate. So it's almost like putting two pieces of a puzzle together to create a channel. So
Cool.
it's like it strengthens the bond and your ability to kind of like tackle the world together. And then also, if you are finding tension or stress, even if it's not, it doesn't even have to be a romantic partner. It can even be a friend, a coworker, a boss,
Right.
somebody, right? If you're feeling conflict or something like that, and you want to get to the bottom of it and understand, why do I feel this way when I'm around this person? Or if you're both willing to come together to figure it out, doing like a couple, an integrated chart, a connection chart, is super beneficial for realizing what you both need, to kind of meet in the middle and tackle things together as a team.
Yeah, like I'm already just from the very little you told me about Chris and who he is as a projector, like I'm already starting to
Yeah.
discover ways that like just like everything I'm hearing about him, I'm just like, yeah, that's him.
I love it.
Crap, like that's Chris, and I'm so excited for him to dive into this this weekend. So, we're gonna go through his report together, and then I think you and I will schedule some time when it's available, and then the three of us will get together and do a video.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's
Okay.
awesome.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you again. Oh, and happy birthday tomorrow because it's your
Thank
birthday
you.
tomorrow.
Big 3-7.
Amazing. You know what? I had no idea we were that close in age. So that's awesome.
Ah, yeah.
I'm going into my last year of my 30s. So it's
Well,
37.
not if you go with your old human design chart.
Yeah.
You're a year
I'm
younger.
only 37, turning 38. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for being understanding with that little
Oh
hiccup.
God. Stuff happens,
It
right?
all worked out, it all worked out, and I'm glad.
Yeah. I think
You
it
know,
was, and I think, like you said, everything happens for a reason. I 100% agree with that.
yeah,
And there's a lesson to be learned there. And,
yeah,
it was good. It was a good
for
lesson
sure.
for me.
Amazing.
Yeah. Love it.
Thank you. I
All
love it too.
right, Paige, have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.